Turns out she's just cuter and more vulnerable than you, which makes me want to protect her. You know, men are drawn to protect women who appear weaker, my husband boasted, his face swollen with arrogance. This came after I'd stumbled upon his affair and confronted him, only to be met with a string of excuses and outright defiance. He sought my agreement, but there was no way I could nod along. Furthermore, he had no intention of leaving me or breaking things off with his mistress. Continuing a marriage with such a man was out of the question. So, I packed my bags, returned to my childhood home, and vented to my brother Daniel. After hearing me out, Daniel broke into a broad smile. Well, that's great news. What's great about it? Hearing about my sister being cheated on, and his first reaction is, "That's great?" I couldn't help but yell at him, but Daniel just kept smiling. Then I noticed the fierce anger hidden behind his smile, an emotion that didn't quite match his expression. My name is Arya, and I'm 31 years old. Anthony, my husband, was a colleague at the same company. Since joining, we'd consult each other on work, collaborate, and eventually became friends who could talk about anything. We'd often go out for drinks, discussing not just work, but also personal matters, deepening our bond. After a company party a few months later, Anthony confessed his feelings for me as we were leaving. Attracted to his bright, sociable nature and his kindness, I didn't hesitate to accept his proposal, and we began dating. Our relationship flourished as we continued to share meals and consult each other on work. Both of us loved exploring new places, leading to trips on weekends and vacations abroad. Spending more time with Anthony, I found myself increasingly drawn to him, eventually realizing I wanted to be with him forever. That moment, in our 5th year at the company when Anthony surprised me with a proposal, remains unforgettable. In a private room of a glamorous restaurant, opening the ring box, I was so moved that tears wouldn't stop. I had no reason to refuse, so I immediately accepted the proposal. We both loved breathtaking views, especially the sea where we had many memories, so we decided to have our wedding in a place overlooking the ocean. Blessed with good weather, it was the best day. I enjoyed my work and wanted to continue discussing it with Anthony even after getting married, but working in the same environment as a couple was difficult, so I ended up transferring to another branch. Although my job didn't change much, 3 years into our marriage, we were still happily living together. We would dine out several times a month and travel a few times a year. Our relationship with Anthony's parents was good, and we were living a happy married life. To anyone looking in, we must have seemed like the perfect couple. Indeed, I felt that way too, but that feeling lasted only until this day. Since the next day was a holiday, we had planned to dine out late after work as we usually did. However, when work was winding down, I received a message from Anthony. "Sorry, Arya. I got invited to dinner by a client tonight, and I can't say no since they've been really good to us recently. I won't be able to make it to our dinner." I felt lonely but said, "I see. Can't be helped. I was looking forward to trying that restaurant, so let's go another time." "Sure. I'll make it up to you. I'll probably be late tonight, so don't wait up. Bye." Anthony quickly ended the call. As I was about to leave work, my phone rang again. It was from my friend Camilla. "Hello? Hey, Arya, are you free tonight? Want to grab a drink? It's been a while." "Actually, that works out. Anthony is out to dinner with a client tonight." Camilla is my best friend. We're colleagues at the same company, though now we work in different departments. She gave a speech at my wedding and sometimes comes over to our place. Since she and Anthony were also hired at the same time, we've hung out as a trio several times. Being drinking buddies with Anthony, it's always more fun when the 3 of us get together. Sometimes, like today, she'd call out of the blue, and we'd meet up for a casual drink when available. We decided to meet at the station near my house, so I left the office and headed to the station. The train arrived just in time, and I got to the station quite early, but Camilla was already there waiting. "Sorry to keep you, long time no see." "I just got here too." After exchanging a few words, we headed to a restaurant. There's a fairly large entertainment district on the way from the station to our house, and we entered a restaurant just off the main street of this area. We started with a toast with beer and then moved on to catching up as usual. How's it going recently? Anthony doing well? Yeah, he's fine. Just the usual, you know. Work has settled down for now, so it's not as busy or tiring. How about you, Cam? Were you working around here today? Exactly. This area falls under my jurisdiction, so I come here occasionally. On the contrary, I've been swamped with clients since the beginning of the month. I'm truly exhausted every day. At this rate, no man will come near me. Camilla is the epitome of a career woman. Though attractive in face and figure, her blunt personality and strong will seem to keep men at bay. After sharing what's on our minds and feeling the mutual encouragement to keep pushing forward, we left the restaurant in the usual high spirits. This entertainment district has a really nice vibe. Mind if we take a slow walk back to the station? I replied. Sure, a walk to the station will help sober us up. And so, we decided to stroll through the bustling streets towards the station. As we walked, our conversation continued. Arya, you're lucky. You've got a good husband, and it seems like your married life is going well. Are you thinking about having kids anytime soon? Well, we don't really talk about it much. We both love our jobs, and I worry about how pregnancy might affect my work. We're thinking someday, but it's hard to find the right timing. While discussing this, a certain restaurant came into view. It was the place Anthony and I had planned to dine at tonight. The windows were absent, replaced by glass walls, allowing a dim view into the elegant interior. The orange chandeliers inside, deliberately subdued, caught my eye. Just as I thought I'd like to come here next time, I recognized a familiar figure. I stopped in my tracks. Arya, what's wrong? Unable to respond to Camilla, my gaze was fixed on the restaurant. There was Anthony, seated across from an unfamiliar woman. She appeared slightly younger than me, dressed in revealing clothes. Anthony had said he was dining with a client tonight, but the woman across from him hardly seemed like a business associate. They were chatting and laughing together. Isn't that Anthony? What's going on? Camilla seemed to have noticed Anthony inside as well. I was too shocked to know what to do. Seeing my state, Camilla suggested, Arya, maybe you should confront him directly. Yeah, you're right. I took out my mobile phone from my bag and took a photo of Anthony and the unknown woman. As I began to calm down, anger started to bubble up. Upon reaching the station, Camilla offered, should I come with you to confront him? Having both of us there might make Anthony more likely to tell the truth. Thanks, but it's a family matter. I'll talk to him myself. I declined her offer and we parted ways. On my way home, I struggled to contain the growing anger. About an hour after I arrived home, Anthony returned. I'm home. Welcome back. How was dinner with the client? It was tough, you know. They wanted to go to a second place and they drink a lot, but I think I made a good impression. Right after he finished speaking, I pointed my mobile phone at him, showing him the photo. This person is from your client? She looks quite young, dressed not quite for work. Did she change before meeting you, Anthony? What? Why? You didn't follow me, did you? Of course not. I was dining out with Camilla. We just happened to see this on our way back. Is this person really a client? Choosing such a fancy restaurant for dinner? From which company is she? Well, what? Can't answer? She's not someone you need to hide from me, right? Sorry. Sorry? You mean this is an affair? She's your mistress? Hey, answer me. Yes. I broke down crying. Why? Why would you do this? I thought we were doing fine. It's your fault, Arya. You're always busy with work, and though you take care of home, I wanted you to pay more attention to me. You're straightforward and strong, but she's cute and makes me want to protect her. Eventually, I found it more enjoyable to be with her than with you. Hearing those words was a shock. No longer feeling any affection from him, clearly preferring his affair partner, I would have preferred he just said it was a friends with benefits situation. I couldn't stay any longer. Packed what I needed and left the house. Dragging my carry-on, I caught the last train home. The journey back home felt longer than usual. I don't remember what I was thinking. Maybe I was too hurt to think about anything. The next thing I knew, I was in front of my parents' house. I had a key but hadn't called ahead, so I rang the doorbell. Daniel, my brother, opened the entrance door. Daniel, hey, long time no see. What brings you here at this hour? Daniel is a workaholic. After graduating, he worked for a major company for 3 years before starting his own business. His sales have been growing steadily, and now he's the president of a company with dozens of employees. He hardly ever comes home, and he couldn't even attend my wedding due to an important business meeting. I knew Daniel got married a year ago from our parents. But since there was no wedding ceremony, I had only briefly greeted his wife, with whom I hadn't formed a close connection. It had been years since I last saw Daniel. Daniel, what about you? How are Mom and Dad? Ha ha, what about me? It's my parents' house too. I finally got a long vacation, so I thought I'd come back and do some filial piety. By the way, they're currently on a trip to Hawaii using the travel vouchers I gave them. Never thought I'd be house-sitting. His cheerful demeanor hadn't changed a bit. Too carefree, but he's the type to make bold moves. I could imagine his employees finding it a pleasant place to work. So, what brings you here at this time, Arya? I was taken aback by Daniel's presence, momentarily forgetting why I had come home. Sorry, I just had some trouble at home. I was hoping to stay here for a while. Ah, of course. It's not my house, but it's fine. Your room is available, so come on in. Once you're settled, I'll make some coffee and you can tell me all about it. I felt comforted by Daniel's warmth. After setting down my bags, I decided to take a shower to freshen up. I felt a bit better, but I couldn't calm down. Anger was bubbling up inside me. When I entered the living room, Daniel was watching TV. Refreshed? I'll make some coffee then, Daniel said, turning off the TV. As I sat down, I began to tell him about the day's events over coffee, how we had been getting along as a married couple, how we had planned to go out to dinner as usual, and how he canceled because he said he was going out to dinner with a client. How I ended up drinking with Camilla and showing the photo on my mobile phone to Daniel. I told him that on the way back from drinking, I saw Anthony and this woman at the restaurant we were supposed to go to. When I confronted him after he came home, he admitted to having an affair with her, saying she was cuter and made him want to protect her more than me. I told the story through tears. Daniel listened to me until the end, looking at my mobile phone. When I finished, he looked up and said something I never expected. I thought Daniel would comfort me, tell me to leave such a man and be on my side. However, Daniel, with a wide smile, said, "Arya, that's great." I slammed my hands on the table and stood up in disbelief. "How is that great?" I said, returning to my room. I couldn't understand why Daniel would say that. Just thinking about it made me even angrier. I shouldn't have said anything. I regretted talking to Daniel as I lay down on the bed. I didn't want to return to the house where Anthony was, so I stayed at my parents' house. Daniel and I didn't talk much after that day. It was tough that I had to commute to work from my parents' house during the weekdays. It took twice as long as usual. I spent my time thinking about how hard it would be to file for divorce and demand compensation. A week later on the weekend, I decided to relax in my room and play some mobile games, enjoying a leisurely time for the first time in a while. Just as I was thinking about getting some lunch, the doorbell rang. Who could that be? It was unusual to have visitors, so I went to the entrance. There was Anthony, and he was apologizing to Daniel, who stood there imposingly. Why, though? Shouldn't he be apologizing to me, not Daniel? Then I heard Daniel's voice. I never imagined the other party would be you. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Anthony was still apologizing to Daniel. Layla's cuter and needs protection, huh? Layla. The only Layla I knew was Daniel's wife. Confused, Daniel continued. Lately, Layla's been acting restless and clearly hiding something from me. Her expressions when I talked to her weren't right, so I started suspecting an affair. I was considering hiring a detective, and right then Arya came back home. I was shocked when Arya showed me a photo of your affair, and there was Layla in it. Sad, but also surprised that it was a family member involved. You never know what's going to happen. This will make the divorce court and compensation claims easier, though. I was speechless. Turns out Anthony's affair partner was Daniel's wife, Layla. The woman Anthony had been dining with wore heavy makeup, completely unrecognizable to me. It had been a while since I last saw her, and I didn't remember her wearing that much makeup. When you contacted me, I truly felt sorry for what I had done. I will cut off all contact with Layla, so please forgive me, Anthony said. Apparently, Daniel had reached out to Anthony about the affair. Daniel noticed me standing there stunned. Oh, Arya, you heard the conversation? Yeah, most of it. Good. Now we have all the information we need on Anthony and Layla, his affair partner. This will make it easier to file for compensation in the divorce proceedings. It's good you came home, Arya, Daniel said to me with a smile. So that's what it was. At that moment, I understood the meaning behind Daniel's words from a week ago, and why he had said, "That's great." What was Daniel feeling at that time? He was trying to comfort me, but maybe he was also speaking to himself. Thinking about Daniel's feelings, I decided to divorce Anthony and claim compensation in the divorce proceedings. Arya, it's my fault. Please forgive me. I can't pay the compensation if you demand it in the divorce proceedings, Anthony pleaded. I ignored Anthony's plea for help. I'll contact you later with the details. Be prepared. Daniel then kicked Anthony out of the house. Afterward, Daniel told Layla about the divorce and filed for compensation. Layla initially resisted, but seemed to accept the demands after discussing. Anthony and I also demanded a divorce and compensation from Anthony. After being clearly told by Daniel, Anthony complied without resistance. When the divorce was finalized, I received a call. It was from Anthony's mother. Expecting a scolding, I hesitantly answered, but heard an apology instead. She was sincerely sorry for his actions. It seemed Anthony blamed Layla for the divorce, and Layla blamed Anthony, leading to their breakup. His parents apologized repeatedly for their son's inadequacies and said they had disowned him. Hearing this from them, I felt a sense of relief. Now disowned by his parents with no one to turn to, left alone, I decided to start anew. Every month, the compensation from Anthony was deposited, but one day he showed up at my parents' house asking to reduce the compensation. Please, can you reduce the compensation? He pleaded. No way. Do you understand how I felt being cheated on? There's no reducing the compensation unless my feelings are healed. Leave, I turned him away. Yet he kept coming back week after week, asking for a reduction. The compensation won't change no matter how many times you come. If you keep this up, I'll call the police, I responded calmly. But Anthony apparently didn't believe I would actually call the police. His demands eventually shifted from reducing the compensation to stopping payments entirely, even suggesting a condescending offer of reconciliation. When I started calling the police right in front of him, Anthony changed his demeanor and fled from the house. The police advised me not to open the door anymore and to install a monitor-equipped doorbell to use if I recognized him. Fearing the police, Anthony resorted to sending lengthy text messages and making phone calls. After changing my email and phone number, things finally quieted down. However, Anthony tried to visit the branch where I worked without any business and even enlisted colleagues to try to contact me, becoming a nuisance at both the main and branch offices. Once I received a message from Camilla, working close to Anthony's department at the headquarters. Camilla had been keeping a close eye on Anthony's current situation. Anthony, having begged a colleague to reach out to me, had his divorce exposed, and his harassment became known due to being spotted near my house during his commute. Realizing no one was on his side, feeling uncomfortable under their gazes and attitudes, he voluntarily resigned from the company. Despite his job search efforts, he struggled to find employment, and unfortunately joined a company involved in illegal activities. Desperate, he pleaded with the HR department to rehire him. Having abandoned all his responsibilities for his own convenience, there was no place for Anthony upon his attempted return. He was swiftly turned down, and Anthony, lacking the courage to resign a second time, endured a harsh life of commuting with the first train and working unpaid overtime until the last train. On the other hand, Layla had reached out several times, wondering if there was any chance to reconcile. However, Daniel recognized there was no love left. Like Anthony, Layla had quit her job upon the scandal becoming known, hoping to escape the situation. Sometime after the divorce, fearing poverty, Layla pleaded with Daniel, unable to pay the divorce settlement, and asked for a chance to start over. Daniel, seeing her focus solely on money, realized her true intentions. Refusing to reconcile or reduce the settlement, Layla claimed she couldn't pay because she had no money, failing to contribute a cent. Daniel, undeterred, contacted her parents. They were unaware of the divorce. They hurriedly apologized and paid on her behalf. Layla thought this settled everything, but her parents, having only covered the cost temporarily, demanded repayment and were furious. Now, Layla works under strict conditions at her parents' farm, which they manage. Since then, Daniel and I have been in touch more frequently, sharing updates on how we've been, and the freshness of reconnecting after a long time brings a sense of family appreciation. Daniel continues to lead a busy life with work, but seems to enjoy his days. It took me a while to recover. The shock of the affair and the loss of my married life brought stress, but support from family, bosses, seniors, and friends helped me view the experience positively. Now, without considering marriage, I'm enjoying my